In town, I had lots of fun. Lots. I roller skated around the courthouse. I rode my bike around the courthouse billions of times. Just having fun like that. And
what did you do for fun in the country, Donna, besides ride your horse and chase the cows?
I trained animals. I trained my cat to come in the barn when I was milking, and I'd squirt milk in his mouth. His name was Midnight. Then when I was coming to the barn, he would be coming from the barn, and I'd go like this, and he'd jump up and I'd catch him. I trained my dogs to climb the ladder and get on the top of our granary, which wasn't too high. I trained chickens. I had a banty rooster that I called Tiny. I had a little truck and I had a string and I put a loop on his tail. We had a little sidewalk. So he'd go down the sidewalk and then he'd fly up and get on the stool. So then when he got on the stool, I would put him to sleep. And with his wings out like that and his feet up in the air, and then I'd cover him up and he'd lay there just a short time and then he would get up and crow. I also, I don't know how I did it to this day, but I caught a guinea. And I brought him up and I laid him on the back step and I put him to sleep and I told Mom to look and she said, "Is he dead?" I said, "No, he'll wake up." Yeah, he laid there a little bit and then he woke up and he flew over the fence. He went to the chicken house and he squawked for hours, I think. But I told Mom, I said, those hens ought to knock him off the roost. And yeah, I liked to work with animals. And we had a little black cow called Blackie. And if the cows weren't too far, I wouldn't ride the horse out. I'd just walk out and the little brown Jersey was Blackie. So I would get on and ride her home because she was the hind cow. And I got lots of honking and waving.
Did you, for school, were you going right across the road?
Yes,
then?
yes.
Who else was in school with you out there?
Different ones, but I brought a picture.
Oh.
I was a 7th grader. Dolores Poppy was an 8th grader. They're all gone except Dolores and I.
Dolores, yeah. Dolores Poppy is Dolores Werner.
Oh.
And we were going to talk to her. I told Margaret on the way in. We thought she was going to be here with us today. She sprained her ankle, so she's stuck at home. But I wondered if Frankie was with you in school.
Yes.
And what about you, Rose? Where were you going to school?
District 25 out in the country.
You were. Okay, same one that Bob went to.
Yep. We lived 2 miles from school. My sister even taught District 25 for a while.
Oh, yeah. Did you walk it then to get to school, or?
When she was teaching, she drove. So we had a ride then.
That helps, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And if I was walking, I said, well, the neighbors would usually pick me up and on me to the first corner, and then I'd walk the other mile. But yeah.
And Margaret, you would have been in the old grade school here.
yes,
down
downtown.
Uh-huh.
But I remember out in the country, Donna, Herbert and I would clean the schoolhouse and wash George Washington's face every time we cleaned.
How many times did you clean?
Several times.
Major cleaning.
Yes.
I just have to interject that what I remember about Donna and you and everybody else that was in our neighborhood is that when the corn shelling crews came around, invariably they ended up at our place on Friday. And my mother didn't know diddly squat about cooking fish. So eventually she and Donna made an arrangement where they'd go down to Donna's to eat if they were in our place.
And you know what happened one time? Donna put a roast in the oven. She forgot to turn the oven on. And man, did she ever have to think of something to fix for her?
Yeah.
And do you realize that living in the country, whenever you had a repairman or something, you always had to feed them dinner, lunch.
Yeah.
So I don't know why.
Well,
I think they just stayed around till they.
they like good country cooking.
Well, it was a bit of a trip out
Oh,
there
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Talking about that, what was different about food then from now?
Plain,
Plain. And growing your own, a lot of it, I imagine.
yes,
Yeah.
Did you both do on-farm butchering?
Yes.
yes.
Was that just your own family involved, or did you have people coming in?
Well, actually, sometimes the neighbors, we would work together. When we would butcher, they would help, and when they would butcher, my folks would help them, so.
What about just general farm work? Was there a lot of trading of that
No.
kind of thing? No. Huh?
Nope, we always did our own. Well, you didn't farm there as much either.
No, that's
Of
true.
course, you farmed, we farmed with mules. Most people farmed with horses, but Dad had mules.
So did my dad.
We remember your dad's mules.
I do too.
Not necessarily fondly.
But I think when they did the shelling and so on, we always had a lot of neighbors when my dad shelled corn
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff.
We did when we
So,
shelled.
yeah, so I think there were
Well,
times.
we had a threshing crew,
Yeah.
and we went to each neighbor, and
Yeah.
I remember my job was to, Mom would dip the jug, and it was wrapped with a gunny sack in what we call a supply tank, and she'd fill it full of water, and then she'd dip it in there, and I had to take it out to the threshers. And it was wet, and,
Heavy?
yeah.
That's how
And
they
then I'd
stored
bring an
water.
empty one in, and that was the way.
That was water,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that too.
yeah.
Then I remember one time going out, and I don't know how old I was, but I thought, oh, I'm just gonna walk around this straw stack, see how big it is. I met up with a skunk.
Whoa.
So I did an about face and I ran. He was stuck in the straw.
Here in town then, Margaret, you would have had a lot of people your age around you compared to what Rose and Donna
Oh,
would have.
yes. In the summertime, I had a different group of girls, and then when I went to school, and I had my classmates and that at school, so really, it was, in fact, I'd like to show you
Yeah,
a picture.
we love to see the
And
pictures.
see if I really would have been in trouble.
And I hate to admit it, but every single name on Donna's picture was a name that I recognized. Maskies and Pullmans and,
Paul Carlson was my cousin.
oh, really?
These girls are all gone, they're gone. There's Betty Davenport, Catherine Cutlass, Mary McKenzie. Oh, all those girls are gone. And do you remember them?
I remember names from all of
Remember
them,
names.
yeah.
And Teresa Reinbold, she's gone. Let's see, I gotta get to it. I did have it marked. I saw it.
While you're looking, Margaret, I have to ask you, you talked about riding your bike around the courthouse.
Yes,
Do you remember a hedge around the courthouse along the sidewalks?
yes, I do. But I rode my bike more closer up to around the courthouse, and different, they'd have step downs, and my bike could just, I did a lot of different things on my bike. I sure would try it now.
Did you ride your bike out at the farm?
Yes,
Did you?
yeah. Here, I don't know, probably you can't see it from there, but we carried a bushel basket of food way out past the golf course on the way to Daishler. And we had a picnic, and on the way back, we took some mud, and where this 2 is to Hebron, we put a 1 there, 12 miles. But we have gotten in a lot of trouble.
See, the kids today aren't that much worse, are they?
No, but there's one of the differences, the things that we did that were like
I'm
that.
gonna use the
If
bathroom.
kids tried it today, they'd end up in juvenile court for the next 10 years.
I'm saying,
Oh, but no, we
Right.
did have a
There you go.
good time then. We just, and, oh, we were always doing something. Oh, look, and a lot of fun in Hebron, and it says something about about Hebron, and because I was born in Hebron, and I really liked. Of course, I wasn't anywhere else, but I did. When you see that Hebron, it just,
Uh-huh.
I really Hebron. No place else.
Now, Donna, did you come here to high school then?
Yes.
So,
Went to country school 8 years, and then I came to high school. And when you lived in the country, especially me, and you went to high school, you were called the country hick. And it was hard to make friends, and it took a while.
it seems to me that continued for a long time, because I should ask Bob that sometime, but in our age group too, in my class in particular, the country kids, we always felt we were looked down on by the town kids, and we looked down on the town kids in return. There was some friction there.
I was afraid to even say anything. So,
Now, you go by the high school up there and see all those cars. You just can't believe all those cars. They say that children in the family, not one or two, they both have a car.
Uh-huh.
And I used to walk way from down there to the side of town, way up to school. I'd walk home and eat my lunch, and then I'd walk back again, and then I'd walk home. We did a lot of walking.
Oh, man, yeah. Now,
No car.
where did your family live?
Do you know where Bill Hannah lives? Down,
would be a block north of the elevator and a block east and back south, 2 houses.
Okay,
We got that pretty quick.
Clear as mud.
I can figure that out.
no, I walked that every day, back and forth. And then go home at lunch too. They didn't have lunch at school then.
Didn't have lunch at all up there then, when you were in school?
Did they, Ruth?
No, we
Oh,
carried a lunch and I ate there. I took my own lunch sometimes.
A sack lunch.
What's that lunch? Yeah.
Did you go here to high school then too? Or?
Yes. First year I went to Fairwood
Mm.
and stayed with my sister down there. Went there and then came back and finished the next 3 years here.
Yeah. And something else, and I'm not too happy. The Bears. It should still be the Bears.
Yes,
Several of us feel that way.
I'm tipped.
Yeah. Especially our classes.
Yeah.
And also, may I mention, that a lot of older people heard about that donated to the alumni, even though they couldn't make it back. But when they heard the Bears were gone, that's it. I'm not donating anymore. And I had about 3 letters from people, not especially my class, one from my class, but and they told me that.
Yeah. I had some odd feelings about that too, because I got to thinking that in consolidation south of us, the Byron Broncos disappeared, but the Chester Bulldogs didn't, and whatever Hubble was, which I can't remember, they disappeared and the Bulldogs didn't, but suddenly the Bears had to disappear. Yeah, I know what you're
And
saying.
then also down to the park, that cannon that they had, that disappeared.
Yeah, what, wasn't that on the west, it was on the
Yes.
west end somewhere, mentioned that too,
A
and
lot of comment,
he couldn't remember where that had come from originally.
and I don't know where it went.
And, yeah, I don't either. And the other thing that, I think Kurt Weedle told me it's stored someplace, but the bell that used to be up at when you went into the parking lot at the school,
Yes,
it's stored somewhere, and it really ought to be out again.
yes.
Was it at the high school when you were in school, or where did it come from? Do you have any idea?
Oh, I thought I seen it up there, but I can't remember.
We've been trying to figure out if it was in the tower of the old high school, which would have been before you guys' time in school, because it went down in the, I think, 1911 tornado, the tower went down. besides riding your bike, what did you or your folks do for fun? Because this was before television.
On Saturday night, we'd go to the movie because Dad's run the projector and we got in free.
Oh, that was
And I
a
think it was probably a Western, a cowboy. But that was the family, but I can't remember any, anniversaries or things like that they celebrated in Hebron. Can you?
No, not that much celebrating going on.
No community events, that kind of thing.
Not too much. Well, you know,
Not too much.
of course, we lived 8 miles out in the country, so you thought twice before you went to town.
And some of that would have been during the Depression.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
what was that
And
like?
gas rationing.
Through the war?
I said, like, the Depression, I says, it's all you do anyhow. We didn't have anything to begin with.
Couldn't be any worse, huh?
But we always had food to eat and a
Uh-huh.
place to sleep.
And everybody was in the same boat.
That's true, yeah.
That's what I've always heard
And
from
you spent
people.
time visiting neighbors.
Yep,
You didn't go to
played
town.
cards with your friends, your neighbors,
So
and
we would go over to the Burbacks one Sunday, and another Sunday, well, we'd go and visit my aunt and uncle across the way a ways, and the next time they would come and visit us. The kids would play and the folks would play cards.
Now, was Dolph across from you at that time, Dolph Burback?
I think he was gone at that time, but, well, no, he wasn't. Because we were still living in Getty when he died. Yeah, Dolph and Maria. I said, the folks went back and forth one weekend, one Sunday they would come over and play cards, and next year the folks would go over there and play cards, and my uncle, Aunt Sal and Uncle Carl Newberry, they were back and forth like that. We didn't go to too many expensive places. You went to visit neighbors, and you knew your neighbors.
What about Sunday? Did you come in for church on Sunday here or Gilead?
No, we went to Alec
Alec.
Church. To begin with, when we still lived at Getty, I was
Yeah.
only 4. I think we left from there, we went to Getty Church, then we moved up on the flat, and went to church in Alec.
What about your family, Donna?
No, we didn't. You went Saturday night to town. I helped Mom get groceries and I helped her carry them back to the car. But before that, when we were smaller, Mom gave us each 2 cents. And we went to a little building which was called Pop's something. And I remember the man real well. He was a small man, very slim, had a mustache, and a kind of a balding head. And he always liked to talk to us. And you would get a whatnot. We get, for our 2 cents, we get 4 whatnots and maybe a little gift wrapped in there. And we look forward to that. And then if there was time, Mom took us to the second show, which, of course, it had to be a Western.
Weekends always.
And anyway, yeah, when we get out, it'd be about 12 o'clock. We get home, unload, go to bed, and the next morning, 6 o'clock, Dad would say, Donnie, I gotta get up and milk and get ready for church. Oh. And then on the way home from church, we stopped and visited Mittie Elliott. And that was Betty Elliott's grandmother. She was raised by her grandparents. And we would visit with her. It would be 1 o'clock by the time we'd get home, and I'd have a headache. I was hungry. And no, we didn't go much, and we didn't neighbor very much. There wasn't any young ones close to where we lived, except, Degafords later on. I used to babysit Daryl.
Oh,
One of the things I used to do is break horses. And I broke a horse, a Shetland pony, for Chick Boyce.
oh, really?
Yes, and I have the picture to show for it. Her name was Pet. And was she ornery? She kicked me out of the barn one day.
How old were you?
I don't know how old was I.
I don't know, I'd say you were maybe 15? You think?
No, I don't think so. I don't know.
Maybe
Did
younger
you
than
write
that.
on the back? I see there's
Well,
writing on the back.
Yeah, but I didn't write.
Check this one out. We had Shetland ponies too, so I can identify. They were
And they
ornery.
were ornery.
They were stubborn, ornery.
You have to tell them who's boss, or you gotta be the boss.
Yes.
Even so, they don't believe you sometimes.
Yeah.
And she bucked me off
Yeah.
several times. And so before I put the saddle on her, I would ride her bareback. And after I started with the saddle, then she kind of quit it, but
Oh, really?
she was ornery. My other horse that I rode when I was older and herding cattle was Diamond. And when you got on him, he would bite you in the leg or the seat of the pants, and I had to kick him in the nose. And then he learned how to unsnap when I tie him to the fence. He learned how to unsnap his fence, or his reins, and go home. So I'd have to bring the cows and the reins. Also, when I was 6 and 7, the section boss, the Burlington went through a corner of the land, and the section boss had stopped. There was 2 of them on a hand car, and they'd stop and they called me Little Texas Mary. And they always stopped and talked to me. And I had to herd cattle 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And I want to know what 6-year-old a 6-year-old child today could do that.
Yeah. Good question. We don't
And
expect much of the
also-
as much of the kids, I don't think, now.
Did you ride a horse, Rose?
This was Diamond, and I learned to stand on him.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where we trained him to lay down, and it was down to Alexander, and Mr. Mahaffey brought his old antique gun out, and so I was shooting Indians.
I could do that on my bike.
You could stand on your bike while it was moving? Could you?
Oh my
Yeah,
word!
rode around the courthouse.
And this one,
I take it you're not going to show us. If we took you to the courthouse,
I
you're,
didn't take a picture.
no, now, you're not, if we put you on a
Oh,
bike.
no, no. Or I couldn't get on roller skates, and that's something else too. You don't see one kid out roller skating now. How come?
Oh,
They did do the skates on, I've seen them skate, the inline skates.
yeah,
Yeah.
my kids had the boards and the inlines.
Yeah, yeah,
But
they
we
do
had those
that.
things that you clamped onto your
Yeah.
shoes.
Oh,
Did you have the ones with the boots built on, or did you have the,
no, I had them on my shoe.
They were clamp-ons
That's what
that
I
we
did.
had too. But the more modern ones were boot
Oh,
deals.
Yeah.
And there was a skating rink too down here
yeah.
at times.
But ice skating, I couldn't ice skate. That I couldn't do.
I can't either. There's something about us, we just don't have the balance.
Just the balance, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a neighbor that came over and took pictures. He took numerous pictures of us on our horses, and he took one of me standing on my horse by the barn, and we had put up hay the day before, and it looks like I'm hooked up to the seat of the seat of my pants. I had never stood on that horse before, and it didn't take me long to get back in the saddle because I was watching her ears. Anyway, he sent these pictures into Life magazine, and they sent him a 8x10 picture back, and I don't know, he never said how much money he got, but I think it was $25. And it was to be a picture in Life magazine, and before he passed away, he gave me the 8x10 picture. But this is the little one.
I see, yeah, you're cinched up there, aren't you? Margaret, did you have a job here in town other than
Yes.
working at home? What did you do?
Yes, I worked at Holiday Drug.
Oh, did you?
Remember the Holiday Drug? And then he retired, and then I went over to work at Chris's. And I worked there.
And Holidays was where Western Auto is now.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
And then that's where Jack Stewart was when he first started, wasn't he, in Holidays building?
He started working for Chris, yeah, later.
Yeah, worked for Chris, but then didn't he buy Holidays
Yes.
building and was over there?
Oh,
I thought it was where the
no, he
senior
worked.
center.
Yeah, he was there too, but he was someplace just for a little.
Okay,
Oh.
okay.
Oh,
Hop and
I
skip.
just thought from there, he just bought Chris's out and he started working there.
No, he was over in
He
Marina
was on the
before.
south side of the street.
Yeah, on the
Yeah,
south side, and then over.
I don't-
because they both were going on at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Then he bought, not where Chris was, but where the pharmacy is now. That was the Golden Rule.
Okay.
And then Chris had Ralph Poppy. Do you remember Ralph?
Yeah.
Yeah, he worked in the pharmacy and
How was Ralph related to Dolores?
Brother,
Brother? We're getting these connections put together a little bit. Well,
Got that all written down now?
and then I hope I remember it.
that's it. They tell me and then I forget.
This place you were talking about where you spent your 2 cents, where was that located?
oh, on the corner where, on Fifth and Union, on the corner, just a little ways back from the sidewalk, where, let's see, I don't know what that building is.
I don't remember that. Do you, Rose?
We can
Oh, I
clarify
remember.
with Johnny Kreipel, because he'll know.
He'll probably remember.
John.
Where it's a new building and it's right south of your son's shop, that building.
Oh,
Photography. Noel
Yes,
Photography
yes. Is that what it is?
on the
Okay,
corner there.
okay.
Fifth and Lincoln then,
Then
not
you get to
Union.
yeah,
Lincoln.
Fifth and Lincoln, yeah.
Then where was the dime store right around in there?
It was in the next,
Well,
It
the
was a-
bank building and then wasn't it the dime store?
Yeah,
The
that Lori
bank, the
Werner
old
has
bank
now.
and then the-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Have you looked at all the work she's doing on there?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't noticed.
Oh, I haven't? We'll drive past there when we go
Okay.
back, because you need to see that, Margaret. It's
Okay.
really changed. What do you think? Where am I here?
Yeah, where did you, out of school, or did you go on to school?
I went to summer school and started teaching. I went to Kearney for the summer and came home and started teaching.
That was called your normal certificate you had?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what those were.
And it was good for 3 years, and when the 3 years were up, why, I quit and got married.
Where did you teach?
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't District 25, it was the one north of it. I can't even think what the number of the school was anymore. But it was just 2 miles.
North of
2
25.
miles north of 25.
Yeah, write that down, because I'll have to look at my map.
And if you're too far off, I'll come back a little ways. I can walk to it or go to it.
I'll
but
bet
tell
you
me where it's
can.
at, but,
Probably with your eyes closed, huh? But we'd have to start, yeah.
like,
Yeah.
How many students did you have in your school
I
when you
never
taught?
had a big
Number?
amount of kids. I would say probably 10 or 12 is probably the most I had.
And that's 1 through 8 grades?
Wow.
You never, did you have Carol or Dawn?
No,
You didn't?
no, because I taught at the school north. And they were going to 25, weren't they?
You think about the districts that were still open. Marlins Albright taught for a couple of years at that one that's on the River Road where you make that last
Oh, yeah?
bend before you.
Yeah.
And
I went to 7 out west of town, and Mrs. Yoakum was a teacher
Oh,
for my brothers, not for me,
oh,
because I was a little too young. Connie Shields taught out there also,
oh, did she?
oh,
Yeah.
did she?
yeah. And that would have been in the mid-50s, I suppose. So, but all the Hubers and Sponheimers and Sterlings,
That school isn't there any longer?
no, and it frustrated because they moved it to the Sponheimer property, but then somehow it disappeared. But
Oh,
yeah, I don't know where the building went. I don't know if it burned or what they did with it. but,
What always surprised me a little bit too is when Hank Kerensky's lived out on J.R. Kenner's place just outside town here. When they started school, they were going over to the Jackson School.
Really?
Yeah, and they were that close to
Oh,
town. You know? And if they were walking, they could have walked to the grade school in town easier than they could walk out to the Jackson School. The distances were,
yeah, 7 was probably only 3 miles out, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. We had the Badens too, by the way.
oh yeah. You would have had a lot
The
of kids
first
in there.
half of the Badens. Down through Gary and Donald and stuff. Clarence and Marvin and Alice and all the earlier Badens.
When Bob was in school, you had quite a few kids at 25, as I remember.
Yeah, Carol was a couple of years behind
Yeah.
Bob. And,
But Cheryl Nystrom was out there, I think, wasn't she? And,
yeah.
and Sally Hauser. But there were kids living in the country.
yeah, there were people living in the
Well, yeah.
Family sizes were a lot larger. That's part of it
Well,
too.
that's part of it. When my Elisa was a senior in high school, all the way through high school, there was only one country kid in her class, Nikki Percival. She was the only one that actually lived on a farm someplace. And that's just changed so.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about being in high school during World War II. Because
How old was I?
Linda and I have the experience of being in high school during the Vietnam.
Vietnam. Yeah.
What year was that?
40 to 45.
41 to
40 to
45.
Yeah.
45. Here I was 77. So I was out of school. And maybe I was
So think back to when you graduated. What years did you
I
graduate?
graduated in 47.
Okay.
Okay, so you
You
would have been
in
high
school. Yeah,
I've been in high school.
yeah.
Yeah.
For your freshman and sophomore year, you would have been in high school. Yeah.
I remember I was in Ralph Hawkins Hardware. I was in that walkway before you walk into the door. And somebody came out and they said, Franklin Roosevelt just died.
And that was in April of 1945.
I didn't remember the date, but I do remember that.
It was
And
right before Germany's surrender, yeah. Yeah, I think that would have been traumatic. I remember when Kennedy was assassinated.
Oh, I
Yeah,
do
me
too.
Yeah, so,
I was in the bedroom.
we were in school.
I sat down on the bed and cried.
But Roosevelt was president for 15 years.
Yeah.
So the whole, young people, their whole life,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you would have had boys in your class that were getting drafted out of school. Jim Kenner graduated in 43, and my cousin Paul Olson was in that same class, and they both ended up
Yeah.
going in right away.
So was Francie, my husband. He's in that
Was,
class.
was Loretta in your class? Loretta Olson
She was in mine.
in your class? And
Okay.
Marlo was in your class, Marlo Healy?
No, I don't know. I don't remember him. I just remember Loretta and I used to pal around together.
There were some in my class that went to, that was in the service. So, I don't know, what would that be? I just, Don Minan, do you remember Don Minan? Gene Richardson, Donald George? Oh, I've got pictures of them. They were all in the service. So,
And then you graduated in 47.
Seven.
So
seven.
the boys from your class were going into service. That was between the Second World War and the Korean War. And then when the Korean War started, were some of those guys still in the service, do you think? Or
I don't think so.
talk about that time period between the two, between World War II and the Korean War. What was the economy like?
Tight.
Donna
Tight.
said we would have food stamps. I don't remember that.
Yes, we
Ration
had,
stamps.
and for gas and what else? Something, tires. We
Even
had to go to
coffee.
town only 2 times a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember we got our groceries at Safeway, and Arden Stevenson ran it then, and he used to, it was hard to get washing soap. And we were pretty good friends with Arden, and so once a month or something, he'd tell Mom to come to the back door, back room, and he'd give her a box of soap. So I remember that.
A little bit of black market thing going on there.
We don't want anybody else to see this now.
No.
But no, you didn't buy very many things. You raised everything, and you bought sugar and flour and a few essentials, but no, you didn't buy very many things.
Did you make soap ever?
Yeah, I think my grandma Apple did. But it didn't do anything for me. I itched.
Lye soap was not pleasant.
No. Talk about the tornado. What you remember about it. You probably remember two of them, don't you? Because Belvedere's tornado wouldn't have missed your place by very far.
That was far enough away, that had nothing to, didn't bother us any. We saw it from home, you could see it,
Yeah.
but no, the Hebron one was different. I said, we came into town that night, and I was having the family for dinner the next day, my brothers and sisters and their families. So I was buying groceries, I got the groceries bought. Went and sat in the car for a while. Francie was in the pool hall. My brother Ed was in the pool hall. We finally, I think Conky and I were together. And so our car was parked over on this street over here, and she was parked in front of the pool hall, so we went and sat with her till the guys came, till they came out. By the time they came out, they just hid underneath the pool table inside while we sat in the car for the tornado.
Where was the pool hall?
On the
South side of the
south
street.
side of the street.
By the senior center there, I think it's that building next to it,
Oh,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Was the one that where Rex Recreation that Ricky Drew's?
Yeah, I think that's where it was.
Yeah,
And, so yeah, that was kind of that.
it was bad.
And I said, looked out the car window and saw this, thought it was actually a person laying on the street. Well, it actually was a mannequin from the Golden Rule Store. But that was scary.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh,
But I said, good thing we weren't in our car, because the ring building fell in our car.
Yeah. Oh, did it?
my gosh. So you rode the tornado out in a car?
In front of the pool hall. Our husbands were in the pool hall.
What about you,
my
Margaret?
family we were all down to my folks, and it took the house, just took it off the foundation. That when it was over, we looked up and seen the sky, and then we had to crawl out of there. And
Was your folks' house where,
It was-
did your dad rebuild on that
yes,
same
we're on
lot?
the same place. Where
Yeah.
Hands?
Phil Hand lives. That's where it was. Yeah. But they were watching it and that, and we were uptown. I think, wasn't it around Mother's Day, or we were
Yes.
buying
Yeah.
curtains for my mom? And we
December
just
10th.
got back, and Dad
Mother's Day was the next day.
Junior was out watching it, and they come running in and said, "Get to the basement." So we all took off for the. In fact, they keep telling me that I just about forgot Carol. Carol was laying there on the bed. She was only 2 months old.
Uh-huh.
They keep telling me, and that's not true. I did run in and get her and run to the basement, and then Bob was only like 3 or something, and he said he was under the ironing board. But no, that was awful. When it was over, we looked up, there was the sky. It was. Oh, and people up at the east end, to the cafes and that, they didn't even know there was a tornado downtown.
Really?
Really.
And then my cousin coming out of the theater, she'd been at the show and didn't know anything had happened.
Yeah.
Grandma said she was getting Grandpa down the basement stairs, which were on the northeast corner of the house. And she said, the last thing I can remember was looking out over Hebron and seeing the lights go out. And then she said, after I thought about that, how did I look out over Hebron? Because I was on the northeast side of the, going down the basement stairs. The only way was that the house was up off the foundation and then came back down, which it did. And Uncle Bob and your dad went in there and propped up the foundation again after they were in there. But,
Yeah.
was your dad, was he already building houses at that
Yes.
time? When did he start doing that?
He worked for the state highway for a while, and then I don't know when he started. He built Raleigh's house and started that, and
Build ours.
built yours.
Yeah.
I know he was, people said he was slow, but he was really particular. He was very particular about it. But, yeah, he built a few. And Bob Olson, Bob,
My Uncle Bob.
he
Yeah.
worked with them.
And they,
And then John Miner.
John Mayen.
He was a good carpenter.
John Mayen redid my grandparents' house when they moved, over where the Saskia Center is now. Your dad, when we were working on our house and put the basement under it, he sat under the linden tree and watched the crew work. And every once in a while, he'd comment on what they were doing. And he must have been a good friend of the guy that was heading the cement crew, because he'd make some comment and that guy would just shoot some comment back. One of his comments he made was, I built this house, this was a really well-built house, and the guy said, it was so well-built, why are they redoing it? And then he said something about, if you want to know anything about this house, just ask me. And the guy said, you're going to have a long, silent morning if you're going to... That kind of went on. And we took out a non-bearing wall in there someplace. And Paul Olson said, where there's 6 nails at the bottom and 6 nails at the top. Which was the pattern for your dad's work. Those walls weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the theater. And the theater is one of the locations we're going to have on the tour, because the Opera House was there ahead of the theater, and now the theater. And we've got pictures showing the theater entrance on the north side, on the Lincoln Avenue side. Is that the way you remember it? And what was it like going into it?
You went up steps and you went inside, you got your tickets, and then normally I went to the west and then down into the theater.
At one time, there was somebody there to lead you down.
With a flashlight.
Because it was dark in there.
Oh, yes.
Pauline Yost was one of them.
Was she?
Yeah. In a uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does it run now? It's run differently, isn't it?
Yeah,
than it
it's
used to
a
be?
volunteer, Carmen,
No,
you
I
might know.
mean projector.
Oh, yeah.
It's digital.
It's
Is it
digital.
electric or something, or?
It's electric, and it's a digital thing. It's like how would you describe that? Like an overgrown DVD, or?
Yeah, something like that probably. I've never been over there, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's all digital now.
What surprises me is how fast this theater gets in shows that have just been released.
Yeah.
It has to, because they're streamed so quickly on TV that it's got to get them quickly.
Yeah, but they do a good job of getting them in here. Do any of you remember the first bowling alley?
Yeah.
Talk about it, Rose.
It was on the south side of the street, of Main Street. I was trying to think what, that would have been west of where the theater is at. And I said, the bowling balls that they used were not like bowling balls now. I don't think your fingers went in it, I think you held the ball. And rolled it down. I never did that, but I said I watched them do it.
Did they have people then setting the pins up? They didn't have anything mechanized?
No, nothing mechanical.
We
Joe?
were home when the tornado was. It got still, and Glenn said, and then the wind came, and he said, let's get to the basement. You had to go out the front door, around the house, and lift these 2 doors to get down there. He couldn't get the door open. I had grabbed the bedspread and wrapped around Glendale, and then it was deafening. It sounded like a train, and it was just deafening. You couldn't hear nothing. I had the flashlight in one hand and I shone the flashlight in the kitchen and my curtains were up in the air. And I thought, oh my word. I didn't know. Finally, when it ended, we got out and we had a garage but no door on it, walk-in door. And so we went in the garage and Glenn had to lift a metal door and put a plank under it. And how he lifted that, I don't know. But anyway, so while he was doing that, I had Glendale in the car, and I was unwinding the telephone wires off of my antenna on the car. So we drove down the street where we knew there were houses, and we couldn't see anything, and we hollered and hollered, and nobody answered. We couldn't get any further south, so we went a block north and a block south. That house was gone, and that lady was looking out the window and a 2x4 came in and killed her. And then we went a block west and we just kept going different blocks. We got a half a block south of my mom's house, which hers was on 6th and Union, and there was a huge tree across the street. So we went in and we hollered, and finally Mom come upstairs, and it was Phyllis and I think Lorene Karinsky, that was Lorene Bodke, that was down the basement. Phil and Jim Moshman was at the Legion Club. They were helping get ready for something, and they got under tables. So we stayed at Mom's just a short time, and then we went to Glenn's sister's on Main Street, the very last house, still there. And
Alice's.
yeah,
Alice.
and they pulled their car up, and we pulled ours. They had a basement garage. We pulled it in a little, and we stayed there all night. And the next morning, we took Glendale out to Glenn's folks, and they didn't know about the tornado. So we left Glendale, and we came back into town. They were blocking streets into town, and they wanted to know what our business was. And we said, we have a house. Okay, go ahead. But we had to have some kind of sticker. So when we got pulled in the north driveway of our house, there was a woman there at the north side of the house at the bedroom windows, and the windows were low, and she was trying to climb in. I got out, and I went up to her, and I said, what are you doing? Oh, nothing, just going to go in and look around. I said, no, you're not. This is my house. Get out.
Were you living on North 4th Street? then?
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, so then we unlocked the door, and we went in the house. The 2-bedroom windows, north windows, were gone, and you just remodeled as you had some money, but most of the money went back to the farm. And anyway, the 2 windows was gone, and we had 2 of Dr. Penry's varnished cupboard doors from his garage laying on the floor. And oh yeah, and then we walked around the house. Part of the roof was gone, and I don't know, we had a closet, but in our north bedroom, but no door on it. And somehow a picture of me on a horse blew out and was north of town, and it was a couple weeks later they sent that picture to me. They knew who it was. And then, oh, what else happened? Oh yeah, Earl Wilkin and Mildred lived on the corner. That's the only neighbor we had. And Earl kept telling Glenn, he said, come and get your darn roof out of my tree. And Glenn said, it's not my roof, because the ones across the street had blue roofs. When the city took the roof out of his tree, the shingles fell out, so it was our roof. Oops. And then we had a bay window, and of course the tornado tore it loose at the top, and that's we boarded up the bedroom windows, and then we had to tear that off. So Glenn put a tarp on there. It was very interesting. And then we had a, I don't know, a bedspread or something. We had a wide opening square from our living room to our kitchen. And I had a bedspread tacked up there. And I told Glenn, and we had tile on the floor. I said, there is something in the living room. And it went click, click. So I got up and I looked and I said, oh my God, it was a skunk.
You haven't had much luck with skunks, have you?
Glenn went out and he unloosened the tarp, and the skunk was in there for half an hour, and finally it went out and he tucked up the tarp really hard, really tight. But that was really funny. I said, we might be out of a house.
Margaret, were you in town
Yes,
that night?
yes, at the folks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we went down there.
Oh, yeah, you had said, yeah.
Yeah.
What about Sunday morning? I know Sacred Heart was the only church that actually had services on Sunday morning. What did everybody else do?
Oh, I
They
said,
didn't have church, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
They did?
Not
Well,
in-
it really damaged
Well,
them.
it wasn't in the church, it was in the school attached.
Oh, okay, because
Because
I
you
know
couldn't
I've
do it in church.
seen pictures of.
Yeah.
how bad was the school banged up?
And I trying to remember, I said, I know you went in there, but I just don't know.
Because the rectory was pretty well
Oh, it was, yeah,
gone,
it was.
wasn't it?
Father had been upstairs, he was in the basement. It was all over it, I mean, he went through the front door and down to the basement.
He was at, my wife taught at Risen Christ School for a year or so, and he was there. I remember him telling her, he not only ended up in the basement, but about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, somebody came up behind him and offered him a pair of pants
Yeah.
because he didn't realize that the back of his pants were gone.
I think Margaret Marsh said he had come over to the house to see if she could borrow a pair from Donna.
I don't remember, was the Lutheran church damaged?
Not
Yeah.
much. No, really
We
wasn't.
had a little, Dick and Irita got married the 17th.
Yeah, oh, but it,
I remember going to the wedding.
yeah, but it wasn't damaged that much, was it?
I think it was mostly the Christian and the Catholic that were the worst.
Yeah, the only thing that I can ever remember folks talking about was the westernmost of the beams had a crack in it, those beams, and they were able to fix that somehow in place. And then some roof, shingles off of the roof. But otherwise, with Sacred Heart gone and the courthouse fairly well banged up,
Yeah.
and I just don't understand how your church got hit so bad and the Presbyterian church really
Well,
didn't.
but those tails go back and forth,
Yeah.
and that's probably just enough movement back and forth.
Yeah, what about the folks' house? It was the only one damaged in that block.
Was it?
Wally and Dorothy, my aunt and uncle, their house was noise and sound. The one on the corner, that two-story house was, I
Yeah,
don't know. She must have jumped around and,
you talked about having trouble getting back into town. Was that National Guard people, or who was running security?
I'm trying to think, I said, because I know my sister and her husband tried to come in for church, they didn't know anything had happened. And they got stopped, they weren't gonna let them go through. And then they said they were just coming in to go to church, so they got to come in, but they were stopping traffic from coming in. But,
the block where the Lutheran church, there was a hospital and all that in there, and that was all gone,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
That house where Ramsbottom's lived,
Yeah,
was that a two-story house before the tornado?
yeah.
So we've got pictures of that, but we have trouble identifying because things change.
That was around the corner of the church, wasn't it? No.
It was south of the church.
South of the church, between the church and the ed unit.
Oh,
Ramsbottom's.
whose house was like where Darlene Fisher lives? There was a house right across the alley there. Right there was a two-story house.
On the
I thought that was Ramspot.
west side, that was the parish house was right west of Darlene's across the alley. And
Yeah.
it had been on the corner before the church was built, and they moved it
Oh,
over there.
they moved it.
Yeah, the POWs dug the basement for that,
Oh,
besides building the light fixtures.
well, I didn't know that it was moved.
Yeah.
I did.
But
That was Galbraith's house.
that was who?
Galbraith, Bill Galbraith, he worked for the Dare County Bank. His wife's name was Rose.
Oh.
Yeah, it's hard to remember. Like, you think about what's changed, what's different places, where Darlene's house is and Carla's. That lot ran all the way back, and Warren's lived there that I remember.
I remember.
That was along that way then, where they lived.
It faced onto Fifth Street.
Where the back of Harriet Easton's house.
Well, Harriet's,
Well, that was the Corral
Corral
house.
House was where Harriet's house is.
Yeah.
Yeah, then who lived on up north, in between there, in there?
You had Corral's, and then you had Doc Bunning's house, and
Yeah,
then,
that was
Yeah.
Killinger's, and then the next, right across the alley was Florence Boyce, Chick Boyce's wife, and then Warren's. And Florence Boyce's house has been gone quite a while. Where Kibbers' lived was where her house was. Yeah, you think about that with housing in this town, and an awful lot of the housing is from 1954 after the tornado down, and then there's a bunch that's
Was there,
dispersed in between, and then there are the older ones.
yeah, some houses it took, and the one next to it might still be.
Yeah, yeah.
the house I live in, supposedly during the tornado, that lady had a porch, and she cooked meals for people with a
So,
stove, a cast iron stove, for people that were working on cleaning up for the tornado. Now that's Betty, I can't think,
Bottom?
yes, it's
Yeah.
her, was either her mom or grandma, I think it's her grandma.
Mandy Mason.
Yeah, is who was doing that, and that's my mom's office, basically, in the house I live in, but it was a porch, an outside screen porch, and she would cook meals for people as they were trying to clean up for the tornado. Because Betty's sister stopped there one day to look at the house, or to visit about it, and she told me all that. As a child, she remembered that, which my mom bought that house in the 70s, so I have no clue on that. But see, that house is it's a 1910 or 1911 house, so it's just like Elaine's house, although remodeled, is pretty old. Those two houses,
Yeah.
you know the picture at the museum where you're in the south part of Hebron up high, and they have that whole picture of Hebron in about 1910?
Panorama thing.
It's a panorama picture. It's a great picture. But anyway, I can see Mom's house and Elaine's in that picture. And there aren't a ton of other things that are the same. Because it says 1905, but I'm guessing that's more like 1910, that photograph was taken. And the book they've got on the women's suffrage movement in Lincoln at the museum, the history, that new book has that picture in it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that's one of the neater things in that book, because it talks about the history of the suffrage movement in Hebron, and with the families and stuff, the Corrals and stuff.
Do either of you remember the Baptist church
No.
across from the grade school on the corner where Mrs. Barbie and Miss Alshwee lived later?
No.
I remember it at home. So it must have been gone earlier on.
No damage to the Presbyterian, but
No, and with that great big west window, you would have thought it would have been vulnerable. But Marge Shearer said she and Dale got down there right away after the tornado because they were just convinced of how they got there, whether they walked or what they did. But she was just convinced it was going to be gone, and it was fine. And then right across the street, you know,
That
their church
church
was
was-
pretty shaken up.
Yeah,
And the
bad.
post office had all of its windows blown
Yeah.
out. So, yeah, the only thing happened at the Presbyterian church was the top of the west entrance tower was wood from through the part where the bell was, and that got banged up. So that corner tower was new after the tornado. I just asked Donna and Margaret if either of them remembered the Baptist church down on Main Street. Do you remember it at all? Across from the grade school to the west on the corner there.
no, I don't remember.
So So it must have been well gone by your time.
I don't remember church being there.
I don't either.
I think you could see that church in that old
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wasn't
Well-
there a small steeple or something?
yeah, a little
Yeah.
kind of spotty one.
Yeah.
And I've looked at the foundation of that house and wondered whether that house was built on the existing foundation, because it has that little bump out that would have matched where the tower was. I don't know when it went away. I know Jim said he was either Cub Scout or a Boy Scout, and he had scouts in there. So it may have been within 10 years ahead of your time. It was gone.
I remember because the Ring Building, which was where the bank is now,
Yeah.
my brother-in-law had his Caterpillar, and he was in there taking it down. And he did different buildings on Main Street that
Well,
were,
you should have taken it down earlier, because that's the one that fell in our car.
now you tell me.
It had a lot of windows, didn't it, the Ring Building? A lot of glass.
It was a two-story, yeah. And then there was, below that was, I think, a Western Auto, or, no, it was a Gamble's. And then the next door east, yeah, was a shoe shop. And he was a Greek man.
Aphis.
And
Yes, yeah.
I don't remember his name.
Aphis was his last name.
What?
Aphis was his last name.
Oh, okay, that, yeah. Anyway, I remember going in there, and he was a tall man, had a lot of hair. I remember, I told Mom, I said, gee, and it was wild. And I said, wonder if he ever combs his hair. But I remember getting shoes fixed, because you only had 2 pair of shoes.
They would resole them for you in there, you know.
Yeah.
And so we had to get shoes fixed, and sometimes overshoes, you had to get them patched. And, but I remember going just, I thought, and I asked Mom, I said, does he ever comb his hair?
Overshoes. Didn't we all have overshoes that
Oh,
had
yeah.
red rubber patches on them different places?
Oh, no, they patched them really well.
I think Stub Horse did some of them, didn't he?
They gave her patch sores and then patch sores.
That's taking us
Oh,
back.
yeah.
I remember Mom always got gas at the west end of town at the co-ops. And she'd buy us 1 bottle of root beer, and we 3 had to share it. And I don't remember then what the gas was, but I know later on when I first started to drive, I went to Horse. When you pulled in, you got your oil checked, you got your tires checked, you got your windshield washed, and 4 gallons of gas for $1.
Yeah.
And they took good care of you. I said, you never left without having your windshield cleaned off, all
Yeah.
everything squared away.
Donna's dad.
Yep.
And there was always a sort of a convention going on inside. That station was about the size of a pocket handkerchief.
That was the place everybody visited.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about that a little bit. There was that one, there was always about 4 or 5 guys in there. Were there other, now we have the coffee clatch that meets up. Was that something that went on all the time around town, groups of
Well, I
people
think
gathered
they
for
always got
coffee
to
or
get together, a group of them, and had coffee some places, yeah.
coffee and gossip?
Well,
No,
it was always the men, so I don't know what they
Oh.
thought.
I think a lot of that was in the pool hall too. They played a lot of cards and visited and stuff.
Does anybody remember the west end of town, Wattenpaws
Yeah.
I don't know.
garage?
Johnny said there used to be 8 on Main Street, and at that time, maybe 12 filling stations in town.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Kreipel was telling us.
I remember us going past Wattenpaw's garage, and I think he came, I'm not sure if he went to the Lutheran church or, I don't know. I didn't belong to Lutheran church then, but he was a big burly man. And then we had a blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
Archers?
Oh, I remember Tripp. Yeah, Tripp.
Oh, yeah, Charlie Tripp?
Their house was right south of where I live, and then the last one that lived in there, they burnt the house down, and then I bought Mrs., where I live now.
One of those senior moments now.
Yeah, I call it AGE.
Millie Rowley lived.
Mildred Raleigh.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, they took the old furnace and the plumbing and everything out of the basement. But I remember it real well because it cost me $2,500 to fill that hole. Yeah. And I bought the lot also because I wanted a double garage. I said, I'm not moving unless I get a double garage. And she had an oversized one-car garage. So I bought the lot too. But
I can tell you a little history on your house that involves your brother too. You remember Jim did a bunch of work on your
Yeah.
house. But your house started out where I live, on my lot, and it was moved after the tornado to where you live. And the people that had, I don't know if they built it, but that had owned it for a long time, his name was Scott. And then Francis and Vera Helget moved it off of the lot where I live to where you live. And I remember Jim doing that remodeling, and I remember it before the remodeling, but Jim and Patty lived there.
That house was moved,
Yeah,
where Donna's living
yeah,
now?
yeah, from where I live.
My brother lived in that house for a while too,
Did he?
Gary. Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, yeah, Francis.
well,
Allen
Parker's lived there also.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
But I do not remember that house. And I helped the lady that run the bakery, Mrs.
Wilcox.
Yeah, I helped her when her mother died. But I do not remember our house. And my mother lived a block west on 6th, on the corner,
She lived on Main Street?
one time.
One
Yeah.
time.
Her first house was on 6th on the corner. Let's see, who bought it? Henderson's owned it. And then Mother bought it, and then she sold, when she built her new house, then she sold it to, they run the cafe on the south side of the street. McLaughlin, was it?
That'd be Ralph,
Ralph, yeah, yeah.
And Louise.
when he
Yeah.
got out of the military,
Yeah,
because he was in the
Ralph
service.
McLaughlin bought it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So your mom lived where, in that house,
Yeah,
where Louise lived?
yeah.
Ralph?
Louise, yeah, but see, I never really remembered Ralph because I'm not sure when he died. I remember Louise
Yeah,
real well.
I do too, because look for Letha.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, she was, I think,
Yeah.
deputy clerk.
So I remember her a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't, and then of course Rich lived there when he was
Yeah.
growing up.
And does anybody remember that we had fountains on the main street?
Yes.
We had wide streets, we had drinking fountains.
I remember
I think
one.
there was 3.
I don't know, the only one I remember was down by the Brand X.
Oh, I remember the one up there around where the Fair County Bank is.
The new bank building, by where the ring building
Yes.
is.
Because us kids used to tell Mom we was thirsty when we went to town.
Whether you were or not.
Yeah. We thought that was something to drink out of that.
It was always fun to squirt that water around too.
And you could,
I go, "You do
at least
that."
you
I
could at
said,
the one down by the
I mean,
Brand X.
the boys were pretty good about doing that kind of stuff.
Oh, I gotta ask this. When you were in high school, did any of the boys in your class play with the fire hydrants?
Well, nobody would ever let me up to.
I'm just curious, because sometime along the line, Linda, do you remember this? They figured out that if you opened, I have to think of the sequence now. If you opened the fire hydrant up by the high school, and then opened the one down by where the fire hall is now, and then ran back up to the high school and closed that one, you got Old Faithful at the one that was down by the fire hall. The pressure just,
Created a vacuum. It was,
Well, you know, you had to have some kind of entertainment, you know.
and we had television. You know?
Wow, you were really upset.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
I remember the journal office real well.
Do you?
It burned down.
Oh, did it?
And and Olive Corral she had that big house north of the post office.
Yeah.
And I remembered I was invited there, and oh my, it was such a big house, and those pillars, white pillars on the outside, on the porch. Oh, I remember I went and when I walked up there, I kind of looked at them and I measured them. And it was really spacious inside, beautiful furniture. I don't know, she had a tea or something, and I don't know why I was invited, but I remember being there. And I'm very good friends with Ernest and Wilma, and we double dated sometimes. And we always kept in touch. And all the clippings that's in the Hebron paper about the corral, I cut them out and I send them to the youngest son, Dennis. And we've always been real good friends. And I take care of Wilma and Ernest's grave.
When did the Journal building burn? Do you remember? What
I
year
don't
it was?
remember. no.
After the tornado, though, sometime. Huh?
I think so. I'm not going to say for sure because I don't know, but I remember it set back from the street a little
Yeah.
bit.
That was the first Hebron High School.
Yeah, that's right.
It was?
Yes.
And it was built, would you believe it was built in 1874? With nobody living here, only about 3 years ahead of that, they built a high school. So education was important. And then they built the one up on the hill in 1888. So the enrollment got awfully big from 1874 to 1888 if they had to replace the high school building that early on. And
At least there's good pictures of that building.
yeah, there's good pictures of that one, good pictures of the ones up on the...
Probably the hardest thing is they don't have a good picture of the Corral House, really.
Yeah,
Of the what?
Corral
Corral's
House.
house. Do you have a good picture?
But see, I've been in that
No,
house
I
too.
don't. I would love to have one.
Yeah.
They left me all her music, her sheet music from turn of the century, like 1910, 1920. She gave it to me, and I don't know exactly why. But whether she heard me sing in church when I was young, that was the only reason, because I still have a big box of her sheet music. But that's when I was in the house, she told me to come and get that music. But I just wish we had a good picture of it. There's pictures, they're just not very good.
Jackie came up with one that was taken in the winter sometime,
Yeah.
and a white house with a lot of white background.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
to see
It
things.
doesn't do justice to the house.
Yeah,
And Mrs. Corral was short and plump, and she had big eyes and a round face, and she was so jolly.
really.
They were all short.
I know.
And her and Ernie and they were all.
Yes, yeah. Dennis and I are very close. He calls me.
And he short?
Yes, he's short. Dan is a little taller, his older brother, but he doesn't keep in touch with me, but Dennis does.
They were back here when they honored them. Oh, was it a year and a half ago? It was all up, there was a,
Yeah, but Dennis wasn't here, they never notified him.
one of the Corrals were.
That was Dan,
Okay, because they were here,
yes.
and there was a group of ladies from Lincoln and Omaha, Daughters of the American Revolution, that did a ceremony up there to honor the Corrals. So, up in the cemetery, because I went up and watched, so.
You talked about those, the shoe shop. Was Gene McDonald the one that had the shoe shop after him there on the west side? In that building, they just tore that down a couple of years ago. What was in the other half of that building?
I don't know.
Shoe shop, which one?
Her Linton's was,
Where Linton's was later on 4th Street there in the two-story building that they just tore down within the last couple
Oh,
of years.
in there?
Yeah. Linton had the shop in the north. You went into kind of a divided entry. There was a door here and a door here.
Yes,
And he was in the north side of that. And Gene McDonald had been in there ahead of him. But nobody seems to remember what, if anything, was in the south side.
The dairy was on the end,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, then Charlotte Richards. Richards had a lawyer office there.
P.I. Harrison.
Right in there somewhere.
Well, Harrison's office, yeah, but John Richards, yeah, where was John Richards' office?
It was right in there, wasn't it?
they're a little further north,
A little further north.
where she's talking about, it's further
Yeah.
north.
where,
He's talking south of the liquor store.
Okay.
Yeah.
working
yeah.
south from there, Pete Harrison's building where Walter Weiss was, and then Orville, was that where Charlotte's dad was?
I think right around in there somewhere.
Because the next building over would be where the funeral home was, the furniture store.
Was there a
where
shoe
the
shop in
Woodbines
there
is.
too,
And
I
then
thought?
on the south side of the alley, from where the liquor store is now, Brudewald's had a auto parts shop in there,
Oh,
remember it?
sure.
And then Max Linton was in the next door, and then there was this other door that was in that same building that,
Is that where Alan Johnson had his jewelry store, in that south part of that?
Yeah.
But he's asking before.
I think Alan
Yeah.
was in the whole building though, wasn't he?
Could have been, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he could have
And
been.
I'm talking about just that south half.
Yeah,
because
and
it was
I know what
divided.
you're talking about, because I can
Can't
picture
remember
it.
anything being in there.
Didn't we talk to Johnny and Idonna about that
Yeah,
too?
he couldn't
Yeah,
come
I
up with
think
it
Johnny,
either.
yeah.
And then Wilbur Yost.
Yeah, Yost was in that
Yeah.
other.
But yeah, John Richards, he was in there somewhere.
I'll bet he was in the building that Orville had later. That might solve a mystery for me, too. I ended up with all of John's books.
How nice.
Yeah, I was. I had played for church for them before I went to college. And when I came back, I don't know how that came about through Kathy Swoboda somehow or other. She said, Edith wants to talk to you. So I called her up and she said, I got 2 questions for you. Do you want your old job back and do you need some books? And he had, because his dad had been in practice with him before, he had books that went back, he had the copies of the legislative journals that went back to the beginning of Nebraska statehood.
Wow.
And so,
Remember the Shears?
yes.
I wonder if Mary Ann Shears, if she's still living. She was a classmate. Mary Ann, she married Burkholz.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I'd
know.
sure to find out that, and if Charlotte Korf, if she's still living. I know Bill died, and then Charlotte went to a nursing home.
I asked Jim Kenner that question sometime along the line, and I don't remember what he told me, but I'll try to remember to ask him again.
Yeah, his mother taught me in Sunday school at the Christian church. I thought they were Christian, went to the Christian church. But did he join them when Jan Kenner, when Jan
Yeah.
belonged?
Yeah,
Didn't they belong at the Christian church?
Jim did. He grew up in
Yeah.
the Christian church,
That's what I
and
thought.
Jan was Episcopalian.
Oh,
And it was the same thing with Bill and Kathy Swoboda. They compromised on where they were going to go, and in his case, he ended up across the street from her.
what I heard that when the church is having problems, Jim said, closing the Presbyterian church, Jim always said, over my dead body.
Yeah, he's still saying that. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet.
Thank goodness, that's good.
Does anybody remember Shears gravel pit on the east end of town?
Yeah.
And then there was the guy that had the, what did he have, 3 or 6 of those little rental cabins to
Yes,
the south, and I
Um,
can't remember his name.
was Herb Brosh.
Oh, sure.
Yes,
Oh,
That
I
was-
have thought and thought in vain.
That was where the motel is now.
motel, yeah.
And Harry Nunn had the Texaco station.
Yes, I guess I didn't bring a pencil.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
now
was-
this goes way back. Shears had a ice making plant, when you had to buy ice to put in your, oh, that goes way
Thank you.
back, don't it?
Well,
Put it in your refrigerator.
Yeah.
Ice in the top.
Ice box.
Then you have
Oh,
a
that
pan
really
underneath
goes
that has the
back.
dripping.
Sure.
have you been out behind the Wayfarer Motel? Because somebody's filling in what's left of the gravel pit back there. They're
Oh.
dumping stuff in there.
Rock,
Yeah,
I think it's Elding,
Yeah.
is it?
that's what I heard,
I think he owns that. But
yeah.
that sat there. In my day, that's where Lanny Johnson went to catch lizards.
Poopy.
What did he do with the lizard?
I have no idea. and I don't think I want to know.
Well, you do a good job of scaring the girls, I'm sure.
I know Dale Shearer's girls are both dead. I know that. Carolyn and Janet.
And Janet,
Yeah. But I don't know. Which one was the one that was involved in that car accident on the mail route? Do you remember that, Margaret? It was south of us on that.
Yeah, it was east of my
oh,
farm.
Dale Shear,
No,
No,
it
not
wasn't
Dale.
Dale. Harold.
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 Was Harold the one that everybody called Red? Or was that another one?
That I won't say because I don't know, but I remember somebody was called Red Shear. It could have been him because I think one had red hair, sandy hair.
I don't know, before they all dispersed around town, well, before Dale and Marge built their new house up by you, that block from the dip going east on the south side was Presbyterian Road. The Shearers were all along in there, Staubers were in there, and they all fanned out all over everywhere.
I remember Hill Furniture and the mortuary, and where the penny store was, and penny store, and then Nackie's Hardware, and around the corner to a block east and going south was Hill's Furniture and Mortuary, where Standard Market is.
Yeah.
And
Was there ever anything west of the penny store in that lot that the Ford garage uses for used cars?
I thought there was. Yeah, there was a
Ice
ice
cream.
cream.
Ice cream,
Oh,
yeah.
nobody seems to have remembered that.
Johnny didn't remember that, because remember, that's a question we didn't,
Oh, yeah,
because he said there was the electricians, Miller, and
yeah.
had that store on the other side.
Yeah, I ate ice cream.
I
Who ran
did
that?
too.
Do you remember who ran it?
Oh, there was several different people.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Hebron Dairy ever had that much competition.
We both remember Hebron Dairy being in the alley behind.
I do too, because sometimes if we had something going on Friday night at school, or I had a babysit, the next morning I went down to the Hebron Dairy and I sat on a box and I rode along out to my home, because they would stop there first to pick up cream.
Now, we brought our milk to that dairy building when we milk cows.
The Hebron Dairy I remember is across from the library.
Yeah, but that's newer.
Yeah.
This is that behind, like Preferred's Pharmacy, that building was there before. That was what you're talking about.
Yeah, that one that was in the alley.
In the alley. It's still there.
Lennon's,
The Monument Works.
Monument.
Where the dairy is now.
yeah.
Or where,
No.
where Joe Murray's office
Yeah,
is now.
I used to stop and talk to him.
The old high school building, there was no gym in that building, was there? You had to
No,
go to the
yeah,
one.
it was downtown.
How did you, was there seating in there someplace? Because I remember it just having a floor. Was there any place that you could have spectators in the old gym?
I think so, I think you did.
I don't know.
A lot of those buildings like that had 2 or 3 rows.
Rose.
It wasn't very-
Tight.
Yeah.
Do you remember any in there?
No, because when we took our lessons down there for music,
Yeah.
remember? I think that stuff was all taken out of there. It was just a bare floor.
Yeah,
But I'm assuming because all those buildings I've been in around this area had, I would say 2, maybe 3 rows of seating. Wasn't a lot,
yeah.
but people didn't go like they do today, I think.
Belvedere had the balcony that's
Yeah,
still there.
yeah.
There was some seating.
Some of them had balconies or stages, but
Oh, and there was the WPA. They always, we lived on the highway and they always had to stop for the railroad.
Yeah,
And a lot of times I'd be going out as a little kid riding the horse and taking the cattle to the railroad right away. And they would all holler and wave, and it was a square box and then it had a roof, but the front was open. And they always stopped, and I know different places where they worked.
I know they built Highway 4. I was trying to think of other construction around here, the WPA.
And the USO, us girls would go down there sometimes, and I couldn't dance, but I'd sit there and watch.
Tiny Johnson said they would go, where was it she talked about? But in town here, where was the USO?
Where the Blue Valley was.
Bison
With
upstairs.
the old
The blue-
belly.
Oh, Blue Bison, you mean upstairs?
Yes, yes.
Oh, we had
upstairs.
Job's Daughters up there in
Oh, in the
the Masonic Lodge.
Yeah.
Okay, Eastern Star and Masonic, because that's where we had Job's Daughters when I was in school. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
See, she talked about going to Bruning or maybe Belvedere when she was at that age to go to the USO dances, but she didn't talk about the Hebron ones, that's why I was
Well,
curious.
at Bruning,
Oh, maybe the Opera House, I don't know, in Bruning?
no, right across from Hawks's house on the south side, there was an underground, some sort of a thing underground there. Because Dorothy Wallmeyer used to talk about going there, and Mike Culva's band played there.
Oh, really? Nick Cole.
But it was underground. And
Yeah, Tiny talked about painting, they didn't have any nylons, so they'd paint a stripe up their
Yeah.
legs like they had nylons on. I remember that, I thought that was so interesting.
That seam up the back of the
Yeah,
leg.
Yeah.
I remember my mom talking about that.
No, that war stuff is, I love it because I'm a history teacher, so that's very interesting to
Very
me.
seldom, but we did go by the CC camp once or twice. And my neighbor out there in the country, he would have them help pick up square bales. And they would, and I'd be on my horse and they'd all holler and wave and in German. And if
Oh,
Dad
that's a
wasn't looking,
prisoners
I'd
of
wave,
war,
but
yeah.
if he was, I looked straight ahead.
Who were they working for out here?
Hermie Digaford,
Oh, sure,
yeah.
because they worked for Dad's folks
Yeah,
too.
and they also worked for Glenn's folks. And when the days that she had them, Grandma had them, she made sauerkraut and pork, mashed potatoes, and, well, I don't know what else she said. And they wanted to know, they'd fight, they'd want to know if they could clean the pot. I remember Glenn telling me
Well,
about
they were
that.
getting fed.
We had a family stay then,
Did
they went to church, our Lutheran church. What was her
Oh,
name?
Shalerts?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I wonder if there's still any of them living?
I
yes.
think so. A couple of the younger ones are still alive.
Reinhardt and,
Because they were back in church a year or two ago sometime, I
oh,
think.
really?
Yeah.
They were here for the 100th anniversary. Two of them were, Freddie and
Oh.
Reinhold.
And
And I think Maria, of course, is not alive. Edith is not
Came back
alive.
or
She just
stayed.
died just
Mhm.
a
Well,
few
there
years
was
ago.
one over by
I don't know about
Bishop, too,
Lily.
that wanted to come back, I know. Yeah.
Wasn't that far ahead of, I think,
Yeah.
was Reinhardt just a year ahead of you?
Could have been. I do remember him. He wasn't in my class, I
Yeah.
know.
yeah,
Maria married Charlie Nedza up at Bruce.
oh, yeah.
And Ella remarried, the mother, she remarried and she was was living in Lincoln, and that's where Freddie was. He was teaching, I think, at the university.
I remember an incident at our church. They lived at the west end of town, and he had passed away, and we had a clothing drive. And we had it down in the basement in that little, when you come down the steps in this little room, right, the first one, okay? And they came to church, and they were so poor, and sometimes just barely had anything for a coat. So we asked the minister's wife if it'd be all right if we'd have her come down and pick out some clothes because this was giveaway. And she said, absolutely not. So there was four of us, and I don't remember who the other three were. But anyhow, that went around in our head. So on Saturday night, we went down, we took two cars. We went down and got her and some of the kids in one car and some of the kids in another car. And we told her, and she hardly had anything for a coat to wear. We said, now, we want to see these things used here. So we want you to pick out for each kid, or have them pick out. And so she picked out some clothes, and then she didn't pick out anything for herself. And we told her, we said, you're not going home until you pick out some clothes and a coat. And so she did. And I remember seeing them in church with some of those clothes on and her coat. And then I would tell her, I'm glad I seen you in your coat. And so I remember that real good. But anyhow, we never did tell the minister's wife.
Was that Martha or Minnie? Martha Reed or
No.
would have to be Minnie Meyer then, huh?
It was Myers, yeah.
Shalerts have been on my mind because the backstory to that was that they were German, but they were Germans living in Ukraine before the war. And now there's all this thing going on with Ukraine,
Yes.
and I thought, gee, how many things have changed in this world since,
The whole center of Europe, though, is Germanic,
Yeah.
realistically,
yeah,
well before Germany became a country.
yeah, but there was a deliberate move of some Germans for farming, to teach
Purposes.
farming methods early on, and I don't know what he did.
He was ill. He tried to do something. I don't know if it was at Wattenpaws, but it was something up there to the west end. But he was not.
Do any of you remember the other thing that was going on here, and that was right after the war, maybe about the time you graduated from high school? There were a number of Latvian families that were here that ended up in Lincoln in the Latvian community up there, but they were here because the church had sponsored them here. Grace Lutheran had sponsored them.
I remember some Japanese, I think.
Out west of town.
Yes.
Yeah. This was after the war, and they came in, and one of the issues was that there was at least one of them that was a doctor of some, medical doctor of some form. He couldn't practice here because Nebraska's practice laws required them to be able to speak English. And with the group, besides him, there were a number of nurses, surgical nurses, and he could have performed surgery very easily because they all could have spoken to each other in Latvian, but they weren't allowed to do that here in Nebraska because they didn't speak English.
That I didn't know. And during the war, it was hard for the soldiers, and if they had their wives, to find any place, apartments or a room to stay. And my grandma Apley rented out her front room, and she had it full continuously. When one left, another one went in. And one couple I kept in touch with, we met in '43. And one night they said, would you like to go to Bruning to the movie? So we did, and I remember this long line. It took us 20 minutes to get checked in. And I don't remember what the show was. But anyway, Frances, Grandma had a piano, and she would play Pistol Packin' Mama and You Are My Sunshine. And we used to have more fun. But Raymond and Frances and I kept in touch until they passed away. They finally ended up in Branson, and they said, now when you come to Branson, you got a place to stay. The people that I was with, they had a condo and they had an extra bedroom, but I did. Each time I was there, I spent an afternoon with them, and we reminisced, and it was really something. And then I remember one was a captain, and he was a lot of fun. And one day it had snowed, and where he got the sled, I have no idea, but he had a sled. He said, Donna, get your coat and your cap on. I'm taking you a sled ride. I have the picture someplace, but so he pulled me down Main Street on a sled. But it was really interesting, all the different people from all over. And I remember this one, she was a little lady, but she was very prissy, and it took her an hour to get ready. And her husband, Bill, would come in the dining room and sit down. He said, I might as well just take off my shoes. It'll be an hour. And she was really dolled up. But that's just, but Grandma always had, when one left, they would tell somebody else, and then they'd come. And of course, they had the cooking in the bathroom and whatever, and dining room privileges and what, or the living room, whatever they needed. But it was really interesting to talk to all the different people. But I can't remember. I think this captain had a wife, but I can't remember for sure.
I wonder what brought him here.
Were they working at the camp or at the air base?
No, they were at the air, stationed at the air
At the air
base.
base.
Oh, okay.
And then my aunt and uncle, they lived on 1010 where Julie O'Neill lived. And my uncle befriended a soldier, and he said, "Do you have a room?" And he said, "No, we don't." And he said, "Have you got an attic?" "Upstairs." "Yeah, we do." So my aunt and uncle, I don't remember what she said, but I think she put, it was not finished. The floor was there, but nothing else. And I thought she told me she put newspaper on the walls and some kind of a curtain. They couldn't afford much. And Aaron, oh, I thought I'd never forget that name. He stayed there. And so then they come from New York City, and his wife came down and spent 2 weeks. And we took her out to the farm, and she climbed on top of the haystack, got a ladder, and and I remember she had a fur coat on, and she held my bandy rooster. And then I don't know what else they did, but anyway, so as long as he was stationed at Bruning, he stayed with my aunt and uncle. And they kept in touch. My uncle and aunt passed away, and he kept in touch with their 3 boys. And let's see, he lived down in Florida, I think, somewhere. But it was really interesting to find out about New York City. She said, "Oh, we got these big buildings." And she said, they live on top of each other. And I couldn't figure that out. She said, "No, I meant apartments." But it was really interesting to visit some of them. And I hadn't thought about it in years.
You'll meet people from different places.
Yes.
And that have had different life experiences than what
Yes.
we've had, yeah.
And we met, and Grandma had a son that they had the southern drawl. "Y'all, where y'all going tonight?" But yeah, it was, sometimes they'd come in the dining room and I'd be at the table trying to study, and they'd come in and sit in a rocking chair and another chair, and they would visit and tell me about where they lived, and I just couldn't visualize that.
But you may have learned more than what you were learning from whatever you were studying just by listening, huh?
I didn't learn much that one time. And we had a test. And I
Oh,
told
my.
teacher, I said, "I'm afraid I'm not gonna make this one." I said, "We had company come and they stayed till 10 o'clock.
You all brought pictures.
Yeah,
Have pictures you want to look at? You two are hiding out over there.
I know. Enjoying it.
How have the churches changed?
Yeah, how have they changed? Do you think?
One thing that I really like is all the pastors all get together.
Yeah.
I like that. And that's about what I can. I'm the priest and
Yeah.
I like.
They associate together.
Yes,
It
yeah, I
used to be,
like that.
they wouldn't be caught dead, even talking together.
I know it.
And I said, you didn't dare go to another church or whatever.
I think I told Johnny this story, but you'll appreciate it too. Part of that started with the POW camp because Father Crowley didn't speak German. And Mass was no problem because it was in Latin,
Yeah.
but the homily was a problem. So on Sunday afternoons, Father Crowley and Orville Reed would go down to the POW camp, and Father would conduct Mass in Latin. Pastor Reed would translate the homily into German. And then Father Crowley said I had to figure out what I could do to help when they went to what he referred to as the Lutheran Mass, when they did the Lutheran service, which is basically identical except that it was in German entirely. He said, so what I did was help serve communion, which was a major no-no
Yeah.
for both
Well,
at
yeah.
that time. And this is Father Crowley telling me this story. He says, we did that from the time the camp started to the time they were cleared out of there, which was late 45, early 46, somewhere in there. He says, we really didn't get into trouble until the two of us walked into the corner tavern together one day and ordered a beer in about 1947. But, you know, that relationship
Yeah,
has developed.
and that's good.
Yeah,
And that's
and
You know, they're all
good.
kind of trying to get to the same place.
one of the things that I've observed, having been organist for the Presbyterians for all these years, is that when Sacred Heart has a fundraiser, generally speaking, the Presbyterians and the Lutherans are the first ones through the door, and everybody else comes in, but they're there.
Yeah.
Same thing was true at Grace.
Yeah,
When the Presbyterians were still doing things, able to, the same thing was true there.
Yeah.
There was a good relationship there.
and that's good.
Yes, it
That's
is.
good.
I know you believe a few different things, but you're all trying to get to the same place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I joined Grace Lutheran December 1948. And I had Pastor Reed. And when you went to church, if you didn't get there early, you sat in the back. And the church was full. The children were there. And it's just down the years. Now the sports have taken over. And we have to have something on Wednesday night instead of Sunday. And and I don't know, it's just so different.
The sports didn't take over, I said, wait, you gotta take care of the important things, I think. Of course, I realize sports are important to a lot of people, but I don't know, I think your faith in your church and stuff, that's the important thing. 'Cause hopefully it'll get you in a better place later on.
Also, one other thing. The minister went around, he got all the names, and it might even take him 2-3 years, but he went around and he visited all the people. Where they don't do that nowadays.
I don't know whether anybody, does Father Major do,
I doubt it.
did Rudy? Father Rudy?
He would have come closer to it, I think, because he was a good mixer.
Yes.
But I don't really know.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Donna. That just seems to have disappeared. That
Yeah.
hasn't,
But I said, there were years that they wouldn't even talk to each other.
yes.
You didn't dare, and you sure couldn't visit the other one's church, and you're really in trouble. And I said, and that was not right, because you're all trying to get to the same place. And I said,
Well, I was forbidden to ever go in the Catholic Church.
yeah,
And you grew up in the Methodist church, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And was that kind of true? It was true to some extent when we were in high school.
You
What
didn't
about when you were in
date
high
other
school?
religions.
You
I don't think you
didn't
dated Catholics or whatever if you were
didn't date
Protestant.
anybody that wasn't from your own church.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, that was a big,
I did.
did you? You were more rebellious. You handled skunks in your life. You could do anything.
I had a lot of Catholic girlfriends.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And
having a Catholic girlfriend's probably wasn't so bad.
Yeah,
Then you had
it's
a Catholic
dating.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
That might have got a little edgy.
Raised a few eyebrows.
Yeah. But I think we ran around with the Lutherans and the Presbyterians.
Oh, yeah.
I said,
It
"Do you
didn't
all
make
went to
any
parties?"
difference.
No. Nobody asked what religion or whether you could do this or not do that. I said, they're friends.
It seems to me that you can observe that kids from senior and high school on down in age have less problem than people that were, say, 21 on up.
Thank you. Valid statement, still today.
No.
when,
Margaret, you made the great escape from the Christian church to the Lutheran church when you married Herb, didn't you?
Yes.
So, was that an issue in your family?
No. See, my mother was baptized Lutheran, Daishler, and my dad Catholic. So they left us so we could choose which church we wanted to belong.
Uh-huh.
But when I went to Sunday school at the Christian church, and Jim's mother taught me, don't believe any of the Catholic religion, don't, and that's why I say to this day that I'm so glad they get together and all that.
I mean, we were terrible people.
You had Dorothy
We
for a
had
Sunday
all
school
of these
teacher?
odd things, you know.
You had Dorothy Kenner for a Sunday school teacher?
Jim's mother
Uh-huh.
I was Adeline Mitchell's assistant for 4.5 years, and I remember having you, and I had Nancy Thomas, and she
Oh,
was
sure.
so little, I had to lift her up and put her on the chair. And then, Michael Germer,
Yeah.
his folks would bring him, the other boy had come, Jim, but Mike wouldn't come. So one day, they lived not far from my mom's house, and one Saturday I went over and I sat on the floor and we played. And I said, would you like to come to Sunday school with me and see me sometime? If I can sit on your lap. I said, you can sit on my lap anytime. So every Sunday morning, when Michael come in, he sat on my lap. So I told him several years ago when I seen him, I said, okay, now, you used to sit on my lap, now it's my turn to sit on your lap.
Good for you.
He said, okay, where should we sit?
Carla, just so you know, Nancy Thomas that she's talking about is Nancy Henricks from up at Green.
Oh, got it.
Since Carla didn't grow up around here, we have to fill her in once in a while who we're talking about.
Excuse me.
What else do you want to know?
I don't know, have we covered, I think we've covered about everything, haven't we?
I know I want to look at pictures. Do you want to look at pictures?
Sure.
And then I have a little picture of myself, and I was 3 years old, I think. And Mom bought me a pair of overalls, and she said I wanted to wear them 24 hours a day.
You know, Donna, I have a picture of my mom when she was 3 in a pair of overalls.
Oh,
And her dad's sister lived on a farm outside of Lena, Illinois. And they'd go there in the summer and they'd spend some time there. And it was her turn to wear the overalls, and she has this big smile. Oh, that's me.
I loved your mom.
yeah, my folks and your folks used to get together.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
And the Olsons.
And you know, the
yeah.
Carla Olson, Paul's wife, passed away this last year. Ruth is still alive. But, you know, that generation, my generation, is passing out of the picture. Louise Evelyn is gone. Do you remember Louis and Elizabeth at all?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah. Elizabeth was Herman Hausman's sister.
Let's see,
Take the picture.